I never meant to notice him. I really tried not to. But sometimes, life has a strange way of making you pay attention to the one person you promised yourself you'd ignore. It started on a Monday morning, one of those days where everything feels off, the coffee spills, the bus is late, and your head just won't stop spinning. And then he walked in. He wasn't loud or showy. In fact, he barely said a word. But there was something about him, the way he carried himself, calm but sure, like he knew something the rest of us didn't. His name was Ian. He had just transferred to our office, and from the very first moment, he had people talking. I didn't care. At least, that's what I told myself. But ignoring someone like Ian isn't as easy as it sounds. He had this way of turning up exactly when you didn't want him to. At the elevator, in the cafeteria, on those late nights when the office lights dimmed and everything felt a little too quiet. He didn't just show up, he lingered. Not in a creepy way, but in a way that made you question your own boundaries. I kept it professional. I avoided unnecessary conversations. But somehow, he kept finding ways to break through. A casual compliment that stayed in my head too long. A shared glance that lasted just a second more than it should have. I kept telling myself not to fall for it. Not again. I had already made that mistake once, and the scars hadn't healed. But Ian wasn't just any guy. There was something deeper behind his eyes, something I couldn't quite read, and maybe that's what made him dangerous. He wasn't crossing lines with loud declarations or grand gestures. He was doing it in silence, in patience, and in persistence. Then came the night that changed everything. A message I wasn't expecting. A question I wasn't ready for. And before I could even process what was happening, I found myself standing at a door I swore I'd never open. What happened next? I wish I could forget. But some things, once they're set in motion, can't be undone. And that's where everything began to spiral. It wasn't just the message that caught me off guard, it was what it said. Simple. No emojis. No overthinking. Just 5 words. Can we talk? Tonight. Alone. I stared at the screen for longer than I should have. My first instinct was to ignore it, delete it, pretend I never saw it. But my fingers hovered, and before I even realized what I was doing, I replied with a single word, okay. The hours leading up to that night felt like walking on glass. My mind kept circling the same questions. What did he want? Why now? Was this just some game? I tried to distract myself with work, music, anything, but it was no use. My thoughts kept going back to Ian and that unreadable look he always wore, like he knew what you were hiding even if you didn't say a word. We met on the rooftop of the building. It was quiet, too quiet. The city below buzzed like it always did, but up there, it felt like time had paused. He was already there, leaning against the railing, his hands in his pockets, staring out into the dark. You came, he said, without turning around. I wanted to walk away. I really did, but something in his voice, it wasn't his usual calm. It was softer, almost broken. I don't do this, I told him. I don't get involved. He finally looked at me. I know, he said. But this isn't about getting involved. It's about the truth. That word, truth, hit me harder than I expected. Because I had my own. Buried deep. Hidden under years of silence and pretending I was fine. And now here was Ian, talking like he had something of his own to reveal. Something that, maybe, connected to mine in a way I hadn't seen coming. He took a step closer, just enough to make my heart beat faster. You think I've been chasing you. But the truth is, I've been trying to protect you. I didn't know what to say. Protect me? From what? From who? And that's when it clicked. This wasn't just some guy with a flirty smile and a mysterious aura. Ian was involved in something deeper. Something dangerous. And somehow I was already a part of it, even if I didn't know it yet. That night didn't give me answers. It only gave me more questions. and a gut feeling that whatever line had been crossed, there was no going back. After that night, nothing felt normal anymore. I kept going to work like usual, kept pretending everything was fine, but something had shifted. I was more aware now of my surroundings, of the strange looks Ian sometimes gave me across the room, and of the way people around us started whispering. It was like I had stepped into something I didn't fully understand, and every step forward just pulled me deeper. The next few days were quiet between us. No texts, no rooftop meetings. But I could feel it. That silence wasn't empty. It was waiting for something. And I wasn't the only one who noticed the shift. My friend Mira, who's never one to stay out of other people's business, cornered me one afternoon in the break room. "What's going on with you two?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. "Don't tell me it's nothing, because I've seen the way he looks at you. And the way you don't look away." I brushed her off with a half-laugh, but inside, I knew she was right. There was something complicated, confusing, and possibly dangerous. Mira didn't let it go. "You know he's not who he says he is, right? Someone told me he used to work somewhere else. Left suddenly. No one knows why." Her words stayed with me. I started digging, not because I didn't trust Ian, but because I needed to understand what I was being pulled into. I found little things, old social media posts that had been deleted, mentions of a family business no one talks about anymore, and a few news articles that were vague but unsettling. Ian's past wasn't clean. And if Mira was right, he had reasons to hide it. But then I found something else, an email. It had been sent to me from an unknown address, with no subject. Inside, just a photo. Blurry, taken from a distance. It was me. And Ian. On the rooftop that night. I stared at it for minutes, my hands trembling. Someone was watching us. Someone new. That's when I realized this wasn't just about Ian's secrets. Someone had been keeping tabs on both of us. And maybe Ian wasn't trying to protect me from himself, but from something, or someone, much worse. And the worst part? I still didn't know who to trust. I couldn't sleep after that. The image from the email kept flashing in my mind. The angle, the timing, the way it captured something private that wasn't meant for anyone else's eyes. Whoever took that photo had been close. Too close. And that meant they weren't just watching, they were planning something. The next morning, I confronted Ian. I showed him the photo without saying a word. He stared at it for a long time, his face unreadable. Then he simply said, "I was hoping this wouldn't happen yet." That word "yet" made my stomach twist. He didn't seem shocked. He seemed prepared. "Ian, what is going on? Just tell me the truth." "All of it." He hesitated, then looked around like someone might be listening. "It's not safe here," he said. "Meet me after work. Somewhere public. I'll explain everything." That entire day dragged like a weight around my neck. I tried to act normal, but every glance, every noise, every open email felt like a threat. When the clock hit 6, I practically ran out of the building. We met at a crowded train station cafe, neutral ground. Ian was already there, waiting. He didn't waste time. "There's someone from my past. Someone I thought I was done with. He's dangerous, and now he's watching you because of me." I felt the blood drain from my face. "Why me?" "Because he knows I care about you." The words hung between us like a warning. I wanted to ask who this person was, what he wanted, why now, but Ian was already pulling out his phone. He showed me a string of messages. Unsent threats. Pictures. My apartment building. My office floor. "He's been tracking you," Ian said. "I didn't tell you sooner because I thought I could fix it before it got to you." I didn't know what to say. My world, which felt slightly off balance before, now felt like it was tilting into something much darker. "What does he want?" Ian looked at me, his voice low. "Leverage. Revenge. Maybe both." And then his phone buzzed again. Another message. This one wasn't just a threat, it was a time and location. Tonight, 10 p.m. Come alone. That's when I knew. Whatever this was, it was only hours away from blowing up. And I wasn't sure if either of us would walk away the same. I kept staring at the message on Ian's phone like it was a countdown. Tonight, 10 p.m. Come alone. Those words weren't just a threat, they were a trap. Ian's expression was calm, but I could feel the tension in his jaw, see the way his hand gripped the edge of the table. He wasn't used to losing control, and now it was slipping fast. What are you going to do? I asked, though part of me was afraid to hear the answer. I have to go, he said. If I don't, he'll find another way. And this time, you won't see it coming. No, I said quickly, maybe too quickly. You can't just walk into whatever this is. You don't even know what he's planning. Ian looked at me then, really looked. I do, he said. Because I used to be him. That stopped me cold. What do you mean? My voice barely came out. You said this guy was from your past. What does that mean exactly? Ian leaned back, eyes clouded with something darker than fear. Regret. Years ago, before I ever came here, I was part of something I thought I could leave behind. Let's just say, we weren't exactly on the right side of anything. I left. I turned on them. And someone paid the price for that. And now he's here to settle it? I asked, trying to piece it all together. With me. You're not just some random target, Ian said. You were chosen. Because you matter to me. For a moment, I forgot how to breathe. This wasn't about office gossip or late-night texts. This was something else entirely. And then came the second message. But it wasn't sent to Ian. It came to my phone. Unknown number. One line. You should ask him what happened to Zoya. I didn't say anything. I just handed the phone to Ian. His face changed instantly. He didn't say her name aloud, but I could see it broke something inside him. Who is she? I asked softly. He didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was hollow. She was my sister. I blinked. Was? She disappeared after I left, he said. They never found her. I thought she was gone. But if he's bringing her name up now, then he's using her too. The ground beneath us wasn't just unstable anymore, it was cracking wide open. What started as something between me and Ian had turned into something much deeper, rooted in betrayal, family, and old wounds that never healed. He stood up suddenly. We're not going to that meeting, he said. Not until I find out what this really is. But what if it's the only way to save her? I asked. Ian paused, the weight of that question hanging in the air. Then he said the one thing that made my heart sink. She might not want to be saved. We didn't wait until 10 p.m. Ian knew that if we followed the plan they set, we'd lose control and maybe more. Instead, we went early, tracking the address sent in the message. It led us to an old warehouse on the edge of the city, the kind of place no one noticed, where silence echoed and secrets stayed buried. Inside, it was almost too quiet. Dim lights flickered overhead, casting long shadows across the concrete floor. Ian walked ahead of me, tense, focused. He didn't speak, but I could feel it. This was personal now. Not just about revenge, or even protection. This was about Zoya. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the space. Calm, slow, familiar. Took you long enough. A man stepped out from the shadows. Sharp features. Cold eyes. He didn't look like a monster, but something about him chilled me. He looked at Ian, not me. Still trying to be the hero? After what you did? I'm not here to argue, Ian said tightly. Where is she? The man tilted his head. You mean Zoya? She's not lost. She was never lost. And then she appeared. From the back. Alive. Very much alive. My breath caught. But Ian, he froze. Zoya, he whispered like he didn't believe it. She walked closer, expression unreadable. I waited for you, she said. You left me behind. You thought I was dead. But I survived. He helped me. Ian shook his head. No. Zoya, he used you. She looked right at me then, her voice sharper. And now he's using you too. That's when it all hit me. Zoya wasn't a victim anymore. She wasn't here to be saved. She had chosen her side. And it wasn't Ian's. The man smiled. This was never about hurting her, he said, gesturing to me. It was about showing you what happens when you run from your past. Zoya stepped forward. And now it's your turn to pay for what you did to us. The betrayal on Ian's face wasn't loud. It was silent, heavy. His past hadn't just caught up with him. It had transformed into something he never saw coming. I grabbed his hand. We have to go. Now. But it was too late. The doors behind us slammed shut. And in that moment, we knew the real danger hadn't even started yet. The moment the doors slammed shut, everything blurred. Ian's grip tightened around my hand as shadows moved from the far corners of the warehouse. But just when it felt like we were trapped, something shifted. Ian pulled a small device from his pocket, something I hadn't seen before, and pressed it hard. A sharp alarm rang out, and within seconds, flashing lights flooded the space. Police. They swarmed in, shouting, weapons raised. Chaos erupted. The man who had threatened us tried to run, but they caught him before he reached the side door. Zoya stood still, eyes locked on her brother. She didn't try to run. She didn't need to. Ian didn't move. He just stared at her like his heart had been pulled in two directions and couldn't choose a side. When it was over, I stood with him outside the building, sirens blaring behind us. You called them. I asked quietly. I didn't want it to end like this, he said. But I knew it would. What happens now? He looked down, tired, but relieved. Zoya will be safe. They'll help her. Even if she doesn't want it right now. She needs to remember who she was before all this. And maybe, so do I. In the days that followed, the truth came out. Zoya had been manipulated for years, believing Ian had betrayed her. The man who had taken her and twisted every part of her pain until it became something else. But she was finally free. And so was Ian in his own way. The whispers around the office died down. Mira, of course, wanted every detail, but I kept most of it to myself. Some things were better left between those who lived them. Ian and I didn't try to define what we were after that. We didn't need to. What we shared had been built through fire, through risk, fear, and something real underneath it all. He didn't chase me anymore. And I didn't try to ignore him. We just met in the middle. Looking back, I sometimes wonder how close I came to walking away, to missing the truth. But I've learned something. Sometimes the people we try to avoid are the ones who end up changing everything. And maybe crossing lines isn't always about danger. Sometimes it's the only way to finally find where you're meant to stand.